Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Rebekah Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan Elrom.
In our top story, U.S. President Donald Trump has vowed to lead the attack on Iran if negotiations on its rogue nuclear weapons program are unsuccessful. President Trump recently told Time magazine that Israel will not drag the United States into war with Iran, but that America will lead the charge against the radical Shiite regime. Jerusalem is demanding that any agreement must require the full dismantlement of Iran's entire nuclear program, as well as its atomic infrastructure. Tehran remains committed to Israel's destruction, and both Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump have repeatedly said that Iran cannot be allowed to have nuclear weapons.
An appeals court of the International Criminal Court has overturned the 2024 ruling allowing the ICC to issue arrest warrants for Israelis. The appeals chamber demanded that the lower court resolve jurisdictional objections. The ruling, however, has unfortunately not canceled the warrants issued for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant.
More than 1,000 people were injured and dozens were killed when a shipment of Chinese sodium perchlorate exploded at a strategic Iranian port last week. Iran's interior minister confirmed that negligence led to the catastrophe at the port, located on the shores of the Strait of Hormuz and the entrance to the Persian Gulf. The Shahid Rajeh port was Iran's largest maritime harbor. It facilitated the flow of 1/5 of the world's oil. Before the explosion, the port processed about 80 million tons of goods annually, accounting for 55% of Iran's total trade. It also handled 26 million tons of oil freight every year and was equipped with dedicated berths for oil and petrochemical products. In March, the port received 2 Chinese ships believed to be carrying sodium perchlorate. This chemical is a key component for ballistic missile fuel and is highly combustible. Experts believe that Tehran was planning to use the Chinese chemicals to rebuild its ballistic missile arsenal.
Record numbers of people have escaped the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip since the beginning of the war. According to Israeli media, at least 36,000 Gazans have emigrated to Egypt, Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, and countries throughout Europe. Jerusalem has assisted Gazans in securing visas and has facilitated their safe crossing by land and air. Hamas is desperate to keep its human shields for the propaganda war on the Jewish state. The terror group has issued a grave warning to anyone attempting to flee. Nevertheless, Gaza residents are becoming increasingly defiant and are reportedly reaching out to Israel for help despite the brutal tactics of Hamas.
The National Campus for Archaeology in Israel has unveiled a one-of-a-kind ancient stone capitol adorned with a Jewish menorah. This 1,500-year-old limestone pillar cap was unearthed in 2020 during excavations in Moza at the entrance of Jerusalem. It is intricately carved with a depiction of the 7-branched candelabra described in the Bible. Minister of Heritage Rabbi Amichai Eliyahu invited the public to view this tangible evidence of the profound and undeniable connection between the Jewish people, Jerusalem, and the land of Israel throughout thousands of years. He said this rare archaeological find, unparalleled anywhere in the world, serves as a bridge between our glorious past and the renewal of our independence in the State of Israel.
Israeli soldiers have been working around the clock to prevent massive stockpiles of Iranian weapons from reaching Palestinian terror groups by way of the Jordanian border. IDF Lieutenant Colonel Aviv Amir, commander of the Jordan Valley Defenses, confirmed that his units thwarted at least 40 smuggling attempts from Jordan and seized hundreds of weapons. Since October 7, 2023, the IDF has apprehended more than 100 terrorists attempting to infiltrate the border and killed 85 enemy combatants in the fight to protect the Jewish state. Colonel Amir explained that the Iranian axis of evil is trying to institutionalize smuggling into Judea and Samaria. Meanwhile, Defense Minister Israel Katz announced the construction of a border fence between Israel and the Hashemite Kingdom. He said it is imperative to prevent Iran from bolstering Palestinian terror groups and creating new strategic threats to Israel from Jordan.
A correspondent for the British Broadcasting Corporation has called to burn the Jews as Hitler did. Samar El-Zanen is a rabid anti-Semite and a Hamas supporter. He has used his social media to celebrate attacks on Israeli citizens and called for further violence. Despite his clear bias, El-Zanen has appeared on the BBC's Arabic language channel more than a dozen times since October 7th. He has used the platform to praise Hamas terrorists and vilify the Jewish state. This is just the latest scandal for the BBC. The network is facing serious allegations of anti-Israel bias, false reporting, and cooperation with the Hamas terror group.
Paraguay has designated the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps and its proxies Hamas and Hezbollah as terrorist organizations. President Santiago Peña announced the move, calling it a decisive step toward the permanent dismantling of the terror groups. The U.S. State Department praised Paraguay for the decision, and Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar applauded President Peña. He pointed out that Iran is the world's leading exporter of terrorism and extremism.
Hundreds of Syrian Druze crossed the border into Israel last week to participate in the pilgrimage to the tomb of Jethro. According to the IDF, about 650 Druze were allowed to enter the country on foot from Syria. The Druze are an ancient tribe who claim descendancy from Jethro, the father-in-law of Moses. Israeli Druze are fiercely loyal to the Jewish state. After the fall of the ruthless Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad, the IDF stepped in to protect the Druze of Syria from radical Sunni jihadists. Israel established a buffer zone and warned Damascus that it will act to protect the Druze of Syria.
The Israel Defense Forces have destroyed a massive stockpile of advanced Hezbollah missiles in Beirut. The Iranian-backed terror group in Lebanon is working feverishly to rearm after Israel wiped out its leadership, its fighters, and its weapons. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz released a joint statement saying Israel will not allow Hezbollah to grow stronger and pose a threat to the Jewish state from anywhere in Lebanon. The IDF issued evacuation warnings to Lebanese citizens ahead of the precision strike.
Newly appointed American ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, has declared that Israel is the chosen place for the chosen people. Huckabee praised President Trump for reversing the Biden administration's anti-Israel policies, namely withholding weapons while Israel fought wars on 7 fronts simultaneously. Huckabee said that the Jewish state's fight for survival against Islamic terrorists is not a geopolitical struggle, but it is a battle between heaven and hell, between good and evil, between light and darkness.
The recent European fencing championships held in Estonia were marred by an anti-Semitic protest and a shocking display of unsportsmanlike conduct. Israel's under-23 fencing team dominated the competition and was awarded the gold medal. As Israel's national anthem, Hatikva, was played, the members of Switzerland's team turned their backs on the Israeli athletes. The Swiss squad later apologized for their conduct in the face of growing public backlash and possible sanctions from the European Fencing Federation.
Israel's Central Bureau of Statistics has announced that the population of the Jewish state has exceeded 10 million people. Since 1948, 3.5 million people have made aliyah or immigrated to Israel, and the Jewish population has soared to over 7 million. Today, nearly 80% of Jews living in the Promised Land are Israeli-born Sabras. The Jewish state continues to grow and flourish, and our generation is witnessing the ingathering of the exiles from the corners of the earth back to the land of Israel.
Israel has inaugurated a new scenic route through the biblical Judean mountains in the Gavot forest near Gush Etzion. The 4.3-mile path is the longest trail in the biblical heartland. It offers breathtaking views, forest serenity, and the options of hiking, cycling, or driving by car or bus. The Gavot forest was planted in 1980 by the Jewish National Fund that raised money to dry up the swamps in Israel through forestation. Thousands of Israelis hiked in the Gush Etzion region during the recent Passover holiday. Yaron Rosenthal, head of the Gush Etzion Regional Council, said that is exactly the grand vision for this area. He went on to say that teenagers, families, and adults will roam throughout the Gavot forest like free people, as befits the sons and daughters of this land. That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. We're here in our beautiful studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is Rabbi Uri Pilichowski. He is the head educator at Nefesh. Rabbi Pilichowski, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Tell our viewers a little about what is Nefesh.
Nefesh is primarily an organization that helps American and Canadian Jews move to Israel. It's an immigration help. We lobby for immigration reform. We help people out, taking them step by step, holding their hands as they go through. But we have 25 different divisions that handles everything from lone soldiers to what I do is educate about Israel.
We know that all the Jews are going to move to Israel. It says it in the Torah, it says it in the Bible. We know it's going to happen. Yet it seems that the North American Jews are the most stubborn of all the Jews. That's where the biggest holdout is. So are we seeing progress in this?
There is a lot of progress. They got, especially over the last 20 years. More importantly, we see Jews that move from America and from Canada, they stay, which was a problem about 20 years ago. A lot of people would move. They wouldn't find as much success as they were hoping for, and then they go back. Today, over 90% of the Jews that move here stay.
I saw a very interesting statistic that actually during this war, more people are moving here than before. Why do you think more people would move during a wartime than during peacetime?
So I think what you're finding is that Jews around the world are feeling that this is home. They feel connection. They watch what's going on in the news, and instead of being scared, they say, you know what, then now's the time. This is my home, this is my brothers, these are my sisters, this is my family, this is where I want to be.
Who's coming to Israel? Is it more religious, practicing families? Is it single people? Is it the elderly? Is it the young? What are the type of people who are coming?
It's really everybody. You find families with numerous kids that are coming. You also find a lot of young people that are single that want to start off their lives, in a more meaningful way. So they'll come. Some of them will even volunteer for the Israeli army. They'll come. They'll do their first degree here, their BA. They'll go on to graduate school here, and then they'll stay. But you also find families. Some are religious, some are not religious, and then you find people that their career has gone to sunset stage, and they're coming to enjoy the rest of their life. Now they have more time. They say, where do we want to enjoy that life? So instead of sunny Florida, they're choosing Israel.
What's really interesting is that at the beginning, people would make aliyah as a Zionist thing. They wanted to say, I'm going to stand with Israel, I'm going to do something for Israel. But now I see people making aliyah for a lot of different issues, sometimes like for financial issues, so you can get a better job in Israel than even in America. How did that happen?
Because there was so much sacrifice in coming to Israel, which there still is, but you're leaving your family, you're leaving your friends, you're leaving your culture. But at the same time, financially, this country is so successful. It's thriving. High-tech industry, so many things going on. Plus, for a religious family, you don't have the burden of a day school tuition. So coming here seems to be a financial, successful move. So people see that. It's not that they're not as Zionist as they used to be, but now there are other factors that make it even more attractive.
I heard this from someone before that, it's a lot more expensive in Israel than in America, but they save so much money on kosher food, on religious schools, on different things that you have to pay to be Jewish in America. It costs a lot of money. So are those really difference makers when people make a decision?
I think they are. I think they're factors. But I think the number one factor to keep in mind, and this is always the most important, is that Israel is the home of the Jewish people. And you have that tug, the Jew has that in their heart. A line of the Kuzari from hundreds and hundreds of years ago was that I'm in the West, but my heart is in the East. I find myself in Israel spiritually. I find myself in Israel emotionally. And that's the real draw. That's always going to be the biggest draw for Jews, is that this is home and they want to come home.
You do something very interesting called Olameh.
Halomeh.
I was a part of it before,
Yes.
And you just kind of take random people from different walks of life and different backgrounds, and you get together for kind of like what Christians would say a fellowship, where you bring everyone together and you talk about different things. Why is that important to you?
A Jewish tradition is that we learn from all types of people. Halomeh, we call them. The wise person learns from everybody, even people that they disagree with. So I like gathering different people from Israeli society right-wingers, left-wingers, religious, secular, people that have all different types of Jews and non-Jews, Palestinians and Israelis, bring them all together into one sitting where everybody can hear from each other. And I think that's crucial to learning and to growing as a person.
People talk about before October 7th, there was a lot of division in society here in Israel. But since then, there's been incredible coming together, incredible unity. Are you feeling that with New Olim when they come here, they feel part of Am Yisrael?
For sure. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest draws. Again, it's home, and this is where our people are.
Our viewers are mostly Bible-believing Christians who support Israel. How can they support with this aliyah? This is an important issue for Christians.
Well, look, we have a donate button on our website, of course, but I think that's really one, and also understanding that and promoting the idea that this is home for the Jewish people, so that when Jews come back, that's a natural move. That's not something new. That's not something strange. That's not novel. That is where the Jews are supposed to be. So supporting that idea that this is the Jewish homeland and getting that message across makes it so much easier for everybody.
There's still about 6 million Jews in North America. What's going to happen to get them to understand that now's the time to make aliyah?
I really don't have an answer to that. I think it's just, again, promoting this idea that Israel is the home of the Jewish people. I feel very comfortable in America, and I think that's the idea. You know, there was a Rabbi Cook was the first chief rabbi of Israel, and they asked him during communist Russia, who's going to be the first people to come to Israel? Is it going to be the American Jews or the Russian Jews? And he said the Russian Jews, and everybody looked at him like it was crazy because communism and the communist leaders of Russia would not allow the Jews to move from the Soviet Union to Israel, and so saying that they would be the first. And he said no, because one day communism will end. So the Soviet Union will collapse, and then those Jews will come. But America is a strong country. It's very comfortable for the Jews. So that's going to be much harder of a move for them to make. And he was 100% right. In the 90s, when the Berlin Wall came down, the end of the 80s, and then 90s, when the Soviet Union allowed Jews to immigrate to Israel, they flooded in.
Rabbi Pilichowski, there are literally tens of millions of people watching the show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
I would say just to keep in mind that Israel is the homeland of the Jewish people, and to keep that message and send that message out to anybody that you know, and that Israel has a right to be here, Jewish people have a right to be here, to govern their land, to settle their land, and to develop their land. That's really the message I would say.
Thank you, Rabbi, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
And now the truth from Zion.
As Israel fights genocidal, Iranian-backed Hamas terrorists, many people are asking questions about the future status of the Gaza Strip after the war. The United States has expressed an interest in expanding the Palestinian Authority in order to govern Gaza. The PA currently controls Arab areas of Judea and Samaria. It also cooperates with and financially supports terrorists in Gaza. High-ranking U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, are calling for a reformed Palestinian Authority to improve its governing abilities in order to take on the running of the Gaza Strip after the war. The United States believes that in order for the PA to be a legitimate institution, it must make necessary reforms, including combating rampant corruption, holding free and fair elections, empowering civil society, and supporting a free press. Those are just a few of the democratic components the PA currently lacks. But even if the Palestinian Authority created new leadership roles and rose to the challenge, is that enough to guarantee the PA would be a true partner for peace? Under Palestinian Authority law, families of Palestinian terrorists who are classified as martyrs receive nearly $2,000 every month for life. This pay-to-slay program is meant to incentivize the murder of Jews by adding terrorists and their families to the official payroll of the Palestinian Authority. Palestinian Media Watch, an Israeli-based non-governmental organization, researches and reports on Palestinian society. It revealed that families of Hamas terrorists killed during the October 7th attack will collectively receive a whopping $2,789,000 for the first month payment. Israel was able to apprehend and imprison 50 Hamas terrorists on that Black Saturday in October. Those terrorists will also be added to the PA's payroll and will eventually receive over $3,000 per month each.
The Palestinian Authority not only celebrated commemorated the genocide committed on October 7th, but they pay the families of every terrorist who committed these atrocities. They are no partner for peace.
In 2018, the United States Congress passed the Taylor Force Act. The legislation was designed to limit non-humanitarian U.S. aid to the Palestinian Authority until the PA ended its disgusting pay-to-slay program. So far, there's been no effort by the PA to end the reward payments to the terrorists and their families. This law has been ignored by the administration of President Joe Biden. So funds keep flowing from Washington to the PA. So how is it possible the Palestinian Authority could be the next governing body of Gaza when it incites hatred and pays their citizens to kill Jews? PA President Mahmoud Abbas publicly stated that European Jews in the Holocaust were killed for their, quote, social role and not their religion. He then outrageously suggested that 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust due to, quote, usury, money, and so on. These are classic anti-Semitic tropes that have emboldened anti-Semites to demonize Jews for centuries. The consequences are always violent and fatal. Just 1 month following these public declarations by Mahmoud Abbas, the October 7th massacre was launched. Legitimate concerns have also been raised regarding the Palestinian Authority's agenda and its involvement in perpetuating violence. It is obvious that Abbas's strategy is to fan the flames of conflict. The Palestinian Authority encourages the school system to teach their young students that Jews are Satan's helpers or that they are wolves and snakes. Another reference includes the idea that Jews are enemies of Muhammad, Moses, and even Jesus. Muslim terrorists are viewed as martyrs and role models in PA schools. All educational material ignores the two-state solution with Israel and Palestine living side by side in peace. Instead, it teaches that one day a Palestinian state will replace Israel. Pro-Hamas demonstrators and rioters took to the streets of PA cities and towns. Palestinians in Judea and Samaria have voiced their support for the October 7th slaughter of innocent Jewish men, women, and children. Terror attacks emanating from PA-controlled areas have been an almost daily occurrence. The international community is watching to see if the Palestinian Authority will revamp its educational system, abandon its support for terrorism and hateful rhetoric, choosing instead to embrace a policy of peaceful coexistence with Israel. The Palestinian Authority is clearly not committed to peace and the future stability of the region. It should be clear that allowing the Palestinian Authority to rule Gaza would be no better than Hamas. Up next, the ICEJ Report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
Today I'm at Kibbutz Urim on an animal therapy farm. You see behind me a few of the horses the ICEJ has donated to enable children to come here for trauma therapy. The animal corner, the horses therapy area, it's all going to be expanded and renovated, and the ICEJ is a part of this special project. We invite you to come and learn more about it and join with us too.
Since 1980, the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem has been a voice of Christian support for Israel and connecting the global church to the land of the Bible. Headquartered in Jerusalem, the ICEJ has taken practical action to stand with Israel, such as helping Jews return to their ancestral homeland of Israel, caring for Holocaust survivors, providing bomb shelters for vulnerable communities, fighting anti-Semitism around the world, and inviting Christians to discover Israel for themselves.
שלום, אני עודד, אני מנהל את החווה פה באורים. אני מנהל את החווה הזאת משנת 2020. התחלנו במרץ 2020, בקורונה, והקורונה הביאה איתה הרבה אתגרים, בגלל הסגרים פתחנו, סגרנו, ובסופו של דבר המשכנו, לא עצרנו. ובעצם המטרה פה היא לתת מענה, מההתחלה, לתת מענה לאוכלוסייה ולקהילה פה במועצה האזורית אשכול ובמועצה האזורית שער הנגב. ואנחנו בעצם חווה טיפולית. המענה הוא מענה טיפולי, הוא תומך, הוא לעבוד עם ילדים עם קשיים, אם זה קשיים רגשיים, קשיים מוטוריים, זה היה ההתחלה, לשם זה הקמנו את החווה. ב-7 לאוקטובר התחילה פה המלחמה. אנחנו כולנו פה מהאזור של העוטף, כולנו פה מכירים את האזור טוב, גדלנו פה. אני אישית מקיבוץ כפר עזה, והמשפחה שלי מכפר עזה, אז הטראומה, אנחנו מכירים אותה טוב מאוד, ממעגלים מאוד מאוד קרובים, וגם כל הצוות מהאזור, כל אחד מיישוב אחר. ובעצם בשביעי החווה נעצרה, נסגרה. היום ההתמקדות שלנו היא בטראומה, ואנחנו עוברים הכשרות לעבוד בטראומה. אנחנו, בכלל, כל החווה עוברת שינוי. אז פינת החי בעצם זה מקום שהוא כיום מקום לא טוב, ואנחנו רוצים מאוד מאוד לפתח אותו. אנחנו מאוד רוצים לקחת אותו ולהפוך אותו למשהו שהוא היה פעם מאוד יפה. אם זה מבחינת המתקן, שאנחנו רוצים לעשות מתקן טוב, מגרש טוב, סוסים טובים, אז זה גם משהו שאנחנו עושים, ואנחנו עוד פעם אני אגיד שאנחנו נעזרים באנשים טובים שתורמים ועוזרים לנו לפתח ולהקים את הדבר הזה. אני רוצה מאוד להודות ולהגיד תודה רבה גדולה לשגרירות הנוצרית שעוזרת ואיתנו. אפשר להגיד לך תודה.
After Hamas brutally attacked Israel on October 7th, 2023, the ICEJ has been actively standing with Israel and her people through advocacy and urgently needed aid projects. Now is the time for Christians to turn their love for Israel and the Jewish people into real action as never before. Your donation will help in various relief projects for families, businesses, and whole communities in this ongoing recovery process. You can help deliver bomb shelters to at-risk areas, provide necessary supplies for first responders, provide trauma care to those shaken by the conflict, and help the hardest hit areas renovate and rebuild their communities. Visit ICEJUSA.tv to donate online or call 1-800-910-6355 and give your generous gift today.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Rebekah Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan Elrom, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.